What's up guys, BltzZ here today bringing you another video. In today's video we have another update and interview to talk about for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. The translations have been done for Toriyama Motomu. Thanks again for Audrey on Twitter for these translations. She will be uploading the rest of the interviews in a few more days, and no worries, I'll be here to cover all of that for you guys. This video, of course, is a continuation from the last one. If you have not yet, please click the video on the top right so you can tune into part 1 of this interview with Kitase and Nomura. There's a lot of insight from Remake Part 1 coming out from these interviews, so I'm glad that we're having the chance to go through them together. These new videos are fun, and I'm glad to hear you guys are enjoying these news updates as well. We have plenty of comments and discussions going on about Remake Part 1 and 2, so let's keep that going in this video as well and flood the comment section with what you guys think. I want to know. Thank you and shoutouts to all the new subscribers on the channel. These news updates are going to be a regular thing, but don't worry, we still have plenty of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 videos coming soon. So with that being said, let's get into this video. This interview continues in the Famitsu article after interviewing Kitase and Nomura about Remake Part 1 and any news regarding the Remake Part 2. Co-director Toriyama Motomu's interview starts off as, "Now that the game has been released, how are you feeling?" Toriyama says, "I'm really glad that despite the abrupt change in lifestyle due to COVID-19, this game is able to deliver entertainment to people all around the world in the comfort of their own homes. There was some skepticism from fans when we announced before the release of the game that FF7 Remake will only take place in Midgar, but because the game dug so deeply into the world of FF7, I was relieved to hear that a lot of people were extremely satisfied with the game. From the game's battle system to its story, to the elaborate details of Midgar's various environments, including songs that sometimes only play in one scene, the game is full of a richness that has been carefully crafted, which shows that a lot of time and effort was spent creating this game. The staff has been really enthusiastic, right?" Toriyama says, "We thought about how we can revive the entity of Final Fantasy VII using the latest technology as well as capturing the richness of the original. The time it took to oversee one scene or area was great, and in order to do so, we needed much more staff than what we had back in the day. Each and every staff had their own things that they were particular about, and we were able to find a balance and successfully craft this game. People who are my age that enjoyed this game when they were kids as well are working on Remake Part 1 and 2, and this is amazing to me to grasp because it further puts me at ease knowing that with those experiences, we are essentially in good hands concerning changes to the story or gameplay for Remake as a whole. We all for sure love this game, but for many of these people that are currently working on this is a goddamn dream come true. I can only imagine. I just can't wait to see what they have in store for us. Since you were involved with the development of the game, was there anything that you were concerned about?" Toriyama says, "Since we had to replace many things with the new portrayal, I was quite particular that the essence of Final Fantasy VII still remained true throughout. I think that if you had played the original game too, you would have known which parts were changed and which parts I left in. However, I wanted to make sure that the events of the remake flowed in a natural way with both new and familiar elements that you can enjoy. I'm happy to know that Remake is able to add an even more vivid experience to go along with your memories of Final Fantasy VII. For me, this statement upholds pretty true. We recently livestreamed and beat Final Fantasy VII Original. Of course, both games revolve and follow the same main story, but along the way, new things were added, while some things were taken away. Two things I personally did not like in Remake Part 1 were the return to the sewer segment with Leslie and the Chapter 17 drum mission with Hojo. I felt like these two had weird pacing issues and they were just there to extend the playtime a little bit longer. However, in regards to removing or changing certain things, they removed that we as a group get captured at Shinra and sleep in a cell, which was changed due to Cloud passing out and waking up in Aerith's old room at Shinra. I personally was also bothered that we did not get to see Red 13's scene of him mauling and attacking Hojo. But hopefully, Best Good Boy in Remake Part 2 gets his time to shine, and I hope we could also pet him too. There are of course lots of other changes and additions, but I don't really feel like we need to name them all right now at least. Let's just keep moving on into the interview. I'm sure there are several younger development staff who have never played the original Final Fantasy VII, so were there any instances where there was a bit of a generation gap? Toriyama says there was actually a lot of staff who have played the original Final Fantasy VII and got the opportunity to work in the industry. There are also a lot of staff who are more versed in the original game than even the members of the staff who worked in the original game. Many of those staff wanted to make an adaptation that kept faithful to the original. In terms of keeping things as traditional as possible, the staff who worked on the original game, myself included, had the notion of making a game that no one has ever seen before. With that conscience in mind, we were able to decide the type of direction that we wanted to go in Remake. So on top of the younger crew having played Final Fantasy VII Original growing up, plenty of them were better and knew more things about the game than the original team did, which is pretty funny, but interestingly enough, there are so many things in Final Fantasy VII Original that people have discovered years and years after it's already been released. So I hope we get that same element going into Remake Part 2, where we are constantly finding out new things years after. Very similar to my current build videos on Remake Part 1, which you guys should definitely check out. We are constantly finding new things every week. Are there any elements from the original game or part of the compilation that you wanted to make a reality or something that you wanted to have in the past game that was then added to this game? Toriyama says, in terms of the music, Final Fantasy VII is a rather cinematic series, but in the original game, due to the disk space and the time restraints, we weren't able to include a movie-worthy soundtrack. However, we were able to challenge ourselves with Remake. We wanted to have specific songs that played throughout the entire game that would go along with the scenes, so the Remake gave us a chance to be able to try this out. With this type of composing, we really didn't have a specific detailed list, so we really didn't count exactly how many songs we created until we realized that the soundtrack itself would span to 7 discs, making it a huge volume of songs. It's absolutely no secret that they wanted to drive the emotions of this game with music. However, 7 discs worth of music and every track is amazing. I can't say anything except goddamn. And this is not counting the jukebox music either. I don't think that that's actually included in that list. I love the renditions of the original music in this game, but the new original songs are all great as well. I can't wait to hear what other legendary tracks sound like in Remake Part 2 and future releases, including Birth of a God, which is the song playing in this video's background right now. The forgotten song because everyone overshadows this one with One Winged Angel, unfortunately. As a gamer, was there anything in particular from Final Fantasy VII Remake that has surprised or impressed you? Toriyama says, after the game was released, I saw a gaming review website capture all the little details of various landscapes in the game. From posters and billboards to the train time schedules, close inspections of the buildings, pretty much everything that showed the lifestyles of people living in Midgar. Although I'm glad people were able to deeply observe the details we put in, I can't help but see some flaws, so it kind of gives me pressure to make sure that in the next installment, we will have even more perfected details. I can actually relate to this very, very well. Often after my videos release, you guys always say how great it is and how much you love it, but whenever I rewatch my videos, I always find things that I missed or I should have added, so I get where he's coming from on that aspect. The grind and strive to making the best possible game is there, and that makes me even more happy about Remake Part 2 being worked on now. I do think it's pretty incredible they went completely out of their way to detail the little things such as posters and train station schedules. A lot of this stuff goes a long way in making the world that you're creating feel real and lived in, so it's really cool that they're going that far into it. Compared to 23 years ago, from the addition of voices and conversations to a change of design, trends have changed. Was it difficult to achieve a balance in retaining the essence of the original game but still representing it for a new generation? Toriyama says we wanted the game to be fully voiced, including the NPC within the city, so we were careful when putting in dialogue that would sound natural. We left in some funny lines spoken from the original game's NPCs too, but since there are way more NPCs in the remake compared to original, we made sure to find a good balance where those lines wouldn't be buried amongst others in spoken dialogue. The fact that literally every NPC has a voice and dialogue, not to mention each one is unique, shows how much effort they put into this, and I really do hope that same effort is translated into them wanting to make the open world feel as lively as well, such as better side quests and overall character NPC interactions. If they could pull this off and make sure this open world is on the same level as The Witcher 3 and Ghost of Tsushima, I think that will make this game a surefire win for Game of the Year for many individuals. Instead of always being on edge, Cloud seems to behave more coolly, but instead comes off as uncool to those around him. Aerith also seems a bit more mature than the original's portrayal of her, and Barrett seems a bit more unhinged and tense. The characters all seem to have a new side of them now. What kinds of concepts did you use to add to characters in the game? Toriyama says, for the remake, the voice acting was added after we finished creating the cutscenes, and I think that the character's performance really shined through from the work that the actors and actresses have done that brought out each character's charm. During recording, Barrett had an unexpected continuity that we pushed further, and the results really brought out his character very well. Now this is a repeat question that they asked Kitase and Nomura, but I love how each person has a unique response. I really like the old voice actors from Advent Children, but the new people that they picked really steal the show. I think there's not a single voice casted wrong, although I do hope Zack's voice actor is slightly improved on in some way. To me, I don't know why I keep picturing Sonic the Hedgehog whenever I hear him talk. It could be the hair, but I don't know. I don't know why that keeps happening. But it's nice to see even the creators found that Barrett indeed stole the show. Shoutouts to John Eric Bentley for bringing life to this character that we all already loved. His performance as Barrett really outshines the rest, and that's not even putting them down at all in any way. He just made this character even more beloved than he was before, and is definitely one of my favorites in this game. In regards to seeing a brand new side of Cloud, the peak of it would probably be the dance sequence at the Honeybee Inn. Was this scene planned from the beginning? Toriyama says, we strongly did not want to leave out Cloud's cross-dressing scene, but instead we wanted to create a huge concept that would make it stand out even more in the remake. We decided to make Wall Market a huge entertainment district, and we were very enthusiastic in making the Honeybee Inn even more of an entertainment hotspot in the remake. I actually helped create the Honeybee Inn for the original game, so it was very easy for me to reimagine the place for Remake. While still retaining some elements from the original, we were able to give it a huge makeover. The new additions to Wall Market are without a doubt some of the best parts of the game. Cloud having to dance and eventually puts on the dress is of course different and a change from the original, but this is such a great change in my opinion, and also super hilarious to enjoy rather than the original. The side quests you also go on in that chapter brings home that original game's feeling of the side quests you go on then too. They were even able to put in a good message to the players about beauty being a true expression of the heart and that gender does not apply. The Shinra mascot dog Stamp appears in various locations, even on a snack package blowing in the wind towards the ending with Zack. Was the character of Stamp originally created in the beginning stages of development? Toriyama says the dog Stamp is a very important symbol that was planned from the beginning. Stamp's use was determined along with the game's design. Avalanche also uses him as their symbol, so there's a good meaning to him that we included to have him stand out. However, the Stamp that does appear in the scene with Zack is a different breed, so please pay attention to that. This is my favorite question by far from this entire thing, because I've had a theory that the different stamps showing up at the end means that we are witnessing with Zack here a different universe, basically multiverse theory. This obviously is not confirmed, as Toriyama says please pay attention to that, but this goes out to those who keep telling me I am wrong about this theory and Zack is alive in Remake Part 1. Just to reiterate, I think he is dead, but in a different universe, we are shown that he survives and him and Cloud make it to Midgar. This could be a plot for Crisis Core Remake or Part 2, whichever route they decide to go to. Either way, I'm excited because I loved Zack and we may get to see a different turn of events in a different universe with these characters. I was quite surprised that Chadley turned out to be what he was in the story, but whose idea was it to create this character? Toriyama says Chadley is a new character that was not in the original game, so it was the scenario team who decided on creating this character. There was a lot of content regarding the game's difficulty levels and clearing the battle reports, so we decided to have Cloud to be able to encounter Chadley through the entire game. I haven't finished clearing hard mode myself, but I hope those who haven't cleared everything yet can challenge themselves with this. Well, Toriyama, feel free to check out my channel as we have tons of guides and tips on how to beat hard mode as well as those extra challenges at the end. I like the addition of Chadley in this game personally, but I do hope we get to find more materia in the world like we did in the original game. Since the materia you find in Midgar from the original is slightly limited, I understand exactly why they had to put him in Remake to give us that. But going forward, I just want to find more stuff in the open and just get that sense of accomplishment when you pick it up. The new character Roach left quite an impact. He's an eccentric one that only appears in Chapter 4 and nowhere else. What was the purpose of this character and will he appear in the next installment? Toriyama says we had initially drawn up a concept of having Roach appear at the last battle on the Midgar Highway, but we thought that he might ruin a serious mood for the ending sequence, so we scrapped that idea. We also thought of putting him in as a boss battle in Chapter 14 Slums, but since you can't really race around in a motorbike in the slums, we unfortunately could not make it work. Roach's spontaneity is one of the character traits that stands out though, so there's a high chance he'll appear in the next installment. Roach not coming back up in this story for me was interesting, but they definitely have plans for him in Remake Part 2 it seems like. I'm pretty glad that he didn't show up at the end. It would have been really off-putting to have to deal with a giant robot, a bunch of Shinra soldiers, then a third-class soldier following up with shadow monsters, and then the greatest of all time legendary first-class soldier. Imagine that. In the remake, the characters have a lot of banter when they're walking around or fighting battles, and the dialogue is not always the same either. Did you oversee the types of conversations that were put in? Toriyama says, all scenarios were checked and supervised by me and Nojima-san. We actually had a lot more lines prepared in the script for dialogue spoken by characters for boss battles, but somewhere around the middle of production, we eventually cut out the frequency of giving out hints and instead left it up for the players to think about what to do. This in turn caused us to cut a lot of dialogue out. More dialogue to me would have been amazing. I love the banter that Cloud and Barrett had, and hearing Tifa and Aerith chime in a little bit more would have been cool. However, the fact that they would have been tips on how to beat the enemy, I'm glad that they went this route. I preferred figuring it out on my own and it felt more accomplishing that way. Hopefully we do get tons of dialogue in Remake Part 2 on this subject. Are there any specific episodes, scenes, or dialogue that you were interested in or wanted to include? Toriyama says the avalanche base at the bottom of 7th Heaven in the original game was an interesting area that left an impression on us. But since Cloud is not very close with Avalanche in the remake, we wanted to show the distance between them, which made us leave out that scene. Although I really wanted to have Barrett punching that sandbag in the remake, I had to restrain myself. I honestly thought that on my first playthrough I missed the chance to go down there when Cloud was playing darts. I do wish that we could have seen that interaction of Barrett 100 piecing the shit out of that punching bag, but unfortunately that was not included. At least Toriyama feels that way too. This is why I hope that they take their time making the next one, so this way we can get as much original nods to the game added into Remake Part 2. Lastly, is there anything you would like to say to the readers? Toriyama says, even though the first installment of Final Fantasy VII Remake has ended, the story has only just begun. While listening to the voices of the fans, we also hope that the next installments are something that would exceed your expectations. I personally also played the original game again after finishing Remake. While waiting for the next installment, I hope you can enjoy the differences in Remake's portrayal of Midgar and also have fun imagining what kinds of things lie ahead in the next game too. You know, it's great to see that they're assuring us that they are listening to what the fans want, but are also happy to give us surprises along the way. I did the same exact thing as Toriyama and went to play the original game recently on stream after beating Remake for the 4th time. I'm happy to have some changes though, because I always say one of the best things in life is being able to re-experience your favorite memory, movie, or video game all over again. Nostalgia is a tricky thing. Changing up things in this game but keeping the major things the same is a great way to help us longtime veterans and fans of the game feel excited at re-experiencing a twist on our childhood again. I can't describe to you guys the feelings I felt while going through Remake and how it felt all over again, but it was very close to my feelings I had while playing through Final Fantasy VII Original for the very first time. And that wraps it up for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about the latest news. I hope we get the next translation soon because I really want to dive deeper into this world of providing you guys information. It's great to see that many of the developers are stating that we will have the same story, but things will be different along the way. I don't think that they'll dramatically change things, and we will still enjoy this legendary series the way that we did with the original. The developers are doing things such as replaying the original after beating Remake and studying the original game heavily. We even have people working on the game who are fans like us from back in 1997 when they were kids and know more about the game than the original creators. That is something to me which brings a great feeling of reassurance, so let's all rejoice because it's a great time to be alive and be a Final Fantasy VII fan. Shoutouts to the members on the channel. You guys are amazing for supporting us, and I'm super thankful to have each and every single one of you guys along with us for this amazing ride. Be sure to join and become a member today so you have access to our channel exclusive emojis you can use on our live chat. Be sure to check out the live chat right now to see how we flood the emojis and also see what they look like. You will get video shoutouts like these, so definitely join us. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy VII Remake news are coming your way and you won't want to miss that. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.